Sometimes kindness costs more than we expect. For Shanice Williams, it cost her job, all because she chose to help a hungry stranger one late night at Joe's Diner. She didn't care that he was 7 feet tall, a famous WWE superstar, or that it was past closing time. She just saw someone who needed a meal. The next morning, her boss fired her for breaking the rules. With no job, mounting bills, and her daughter's asthma medicine running low, Shanice thought her world was falling apart. She had no idea that losing her job would lead to the biggest surprise of her life, or that her simple act of kindness was about to change everything, not just for her, but for people across the country. But that would come later. First, there was that late-night shift, when a very big man walked into a very small diner. Shanice Williams's feet hurt so bad she could cry. 11 hours into her double shift at Joe's Diner, her white sneakers felt like they were full of rocks instead of her swollen feet. But she couldn't stop now. Not when Lily's asthma medicine was due for a refill next week. Order up! Kenny, the cook, banged the bell twice. Steam rose from the plate of golden French fries and a burger that looked big enough to feed 2 people. Shanice grabbed the plate, managing a tired smile. "Thanks, Kenny. This is my last table. Then we can start cleaning up." The clock on the wall showed 11:45 p.m., 15 minutes until closing time. Shanice carried the plate to table 6, where Mr. Johnson sat reading his newspaper like he did every Tuesday night. "Here you go, Mr. J. Extra Pickles, just how you like it." She set the plate down carefully. The old man's eyes crinkled behind his reading glasses. "You never forget, do you, Shanice? How's that little girl of yours?" "Lily's doing better. She made it through a whole week of school without using her rescue inhaler." Shanice beamed with pride, even though her back ached from being on her feet since noon. "That's wonderful news." Mr. Johnson folded his paper. "You tell that young lady that her biggest fan says hello." "I will. You need anything else?" He shook his head, already reaching for the ketchup. Shanice started wiping down the empty tables, her mind wandering to the bills piled up on her kitchen counter. The extra shifts helped, but between rent, utilities, and Lily's medicine, there was never quite enough. The bell above the door chimed. Shanice turned, ready to say they were closing, when her words caught in her throat. The man who walked in had to duck to clear the doorframe. He was enormous, easily 7 feet tall and built like a tank. She recognized him immediately from the WWE posters Lily loved to watch. The Big Show. Kenny poked his head through the service window. "We're closed! I already shut down the—" His eyes went wide when he saw their late-night visitor. The giant man looked exhausted, his shoulders slumped. "Please." His voice was surprisingly gentle. "I've been driving for hours trying to find somewhere open. Everything's closed, and I haven't eaten since breakfast." Mr. Peterson, the manager, had strict rules about closing on time. No exceptions. But something in the Big Show's tired eyes reminded Shanice of how she felt after those long double shifts, just wanting a warm meal. She straightened her apron. "The kitchen's closing, but I'm sure Kenny wouldn't mind firing up the grill one more time." "Would you, Kenny?" Kenny started to protest, then caught the look in Shanice's eyes. "Yeah, sure. One more order won't kill me." "Thank you." Big Show sighed with relief, folding himself carefully into a booth. "I really appreciate this." Shanice grabbed her order pad. "What can I get you?" "I don't suppose you could do 3 cheeseburgers with extra fries. Coming right up. Coffee while you wait?" He nodded gratefully, and Shanice poured him a steaming cup. As she worked, she could hear Mr. Peterson's voice in her head, lecturing about overtime and closing procedures. But she thought about all the times people had shown her kindness when she needed it, like Mrs. Santiago from next door watching Lily for free when Shanice picked up extra shifts. Sometimes people just needed a little kindness. The Big Show ate like he hadn't seen food in days, politely demolishing 3 massive burgers while Shanice refilled his coffee. They chatted a bit about wrestling, about his travels, about Lily being his biggest fan. He seemed surprised that she recognized him, and even more surprised that she treated him just like any other customer. "Most people either get weird or want autographs," he admitted, finishing the last of his fries. Shanice shrugged, clearing his plates. "Everyone deserves to eat in peace, especially after a long day." It was almost 1 a.m. by the time she finished cleaning up. Her feet were screaming, and tomorrow's shift started at 10 a.m. But somehow, she didn't mind as much as usual. The Big Show had left a $100 tip and written a sweet note to Lily on a napkin. As Shanice locked up the diner, she smiled, tucking the napkin safely in her purse. Lily would be over the moon. Maybe she'd frame it for her daughter's bedroom wall, a reminder that sometimes the biggest people could have the kindest hearts. Fragile. Night air was cool on her face as she started the long walk home. Her bus had stopped running hours ago, but she was used to it. Besides, the walk gave her time to think about tomorrow's to-do list. Wake Lily up for school, pay the electric bill, check on that job listing at the mall for weekend work. She was so lost in thought, she didn't notice the security camera blinking in the corner of the diner's entrance, recording everything that had happened that night. A recording that would change her life forever. But that would come tomorrow. For now, Shanice Williams was just a tired waitress heading home to her daughter, carrying a $100 tip and a wrestler's autograph in her purse, completely unaware that her simple act of kindness was about to turn her whole world upside down. The next morning came too soon. Shanice's alarm buzzed at 7 a.m., and her feet still ached from yesterday's marathon shift. But Lily's bright smile made it worth it as she showed her daughter the autographed napkin over breakfast. "The real Big Show? In our diner?" Lily's eyes were wide as saucers, her bowl of cereal forgotten. "Mom, that's so cool! Did he do his famous choke slam?" Shanice laughed, packing Lily's lunch. "No wrestling moves in the diner, baby. He was just hungry and tired, like anybody else after a long day. But you got to serve him dinner." Lily hugged the napkin to her chest. "This is the best thing ever." After dropping Lily at school, Shanice hurried to catch the bus to work. She was tired, but happy. That $100 tip would help with Lily's medicine, and her daughter's joy over the autograph made the late night worth it. But her good mood evaporated the moment she walked into Joe's diner. Mr. Peterson stood by the counter, his arms crossed and face dark as a thundercloud. "My office, now!" Shanice's stomach dropped. She followed him to the tiny office in the back, past Kenny, who wouldn't meet her eyes. The security footage from last night played on Mr. Peterson's computer screen. "Would you care to explain this?" He pointed to the timestamp, 12:47 a.m. "Sir, I know we stayed open a little late, but—" "A little late?" Mr. Peterson's voice rose. "You kept the kitchen running almost 2 hours past closing. Do you know how many regulations you violated? The overtime costs? The liability issues?" "Tai was just one customer," Shanice tried to explain. "He'd been driving all day, and I don't care if it was the President of the United States." Mr. Peterson slammed his hand on the desk. "We have rules, Williams. Clear, simple rules. Close at midnight. No exceptions." "Mr. Peterson, please. I've worked here for 3 years. I've never caused any problems. I pick up extra shifts whenever you need them. And now I know why, so you can break the rules whenever you feel like it." He pulled out a manila envelope. "This is your final paycheck, including today. Clear out your locker and leave your apron." The world seemed to tilt sideways. You're firing me over one late customer? I'm firing you for deliberately disobeying direct orders and creating liability issues for this establishment. His voice was cold. You're lucky I'm not reporting the health code violations for running an unsupervised kitchen. Shanice's eyes burned with tears. She refused to let fall. What about my shifts this week? I have bills to pay. My daughter's medicine. Not my problem anymore. He turned back to his computer. You have 15 minutes to clear out your things. The walk to her locker felt like a dream. The bad kind that you can't wake up from. Her hands shook as she emptied the small metal box. Spare hairbands, a sweater for cold nights, the birthday card Lily had made her last month with glitter and stickers. Kenny caught her by the back door. Shanice, I'm so sorry. I tried to tell him it was my idea to keep the kitchen open, but he wouldn't listen. She managed a weak smile. It's not your fault, Kenny. Take care of yourself, okay? Outside, the morning sun felt too bright, too cheerful. Shanice sat on the bus stop bench and pulled out her phone. She had to call her sister. Jackie? It's me. I lost my job. Her voice cracked. I know you're tight this month too, but Lily's medicine, I don't know what I'm going to do. The bus came and went. Shanice barely noticed, listening to Jackie's worried voice. Her sister could loan her enough for 2 weeks of medicine, but after that… Walking home, Shanice passed the spot where Big Joe's rental car had been parked last night. She thought about his kind thanks, his generous tip. She'd do it again, she realized. Even knowing it would cost her job, she'd still help someone in need. Her mama had raised her right, taught her that kindness mattered more than rules sometimes. But knowing she'd done the right thing didn't make her empty pockets any heavier. At home, Shanice sat at her kitchen table, spreading out her bills like a deck of cards. Rent, electricity, phone, medicine. The final paycheck would cover rent, maybe part of the electric bill. But after that, she circled job listings in the newspaper until her pen ran dry. Waitress positions, all of them asking for night shifts, all of them paying less than she'd made at Joe's. None of them would hire her after being fired for breaking rules, no matter how kind her reasons were. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Shanice almost ignored it, thinking it was another bill collector. But something made her answer. Hello? Is this Shanice Williams? The voice was professional, crisp. Yes, who's this? My name is Sarah Chen. I represent Elite Sports Entertainment. We'd like to meet with you this afternoon regarding ND Opportunity. Are you familiar with the Powerhouse Gym on 5th Street? Shanice frowned. Look, if this is about magazine subscriptions or something, it's about what happened at Joe's Diner last night. Sarah's voice softened slightly. We think you might be exactly who we're looking for. 2 o'clock, if you can make it. Ask for me at the front desk. The line went dead before Shanice could reply. She stared at her phone, then at the pile of bills on her table. It had to be a scam, right? But they knew about last night. And right now, she was fresh out of options. Shanice looked at the clock. 12:30. Just enough time to change clothes and catch the crosstown bus to 5th Street. Whatever this was, a scam, a joke, or something else entirely, she couldn't afford not to find out. She just hoped she wasn't walking into more trouble than she'd left behind at the diner. The Powerhouse Gym stood like a giant glass box against the afternoon sky. Shanice checked her reflection in the window, smoothing down her best interview blouse. It had taken her last $5 to get here on the bus, and she prayed it wasn't for nothing. Inside, the air smelled like rubber mats and determination. Massive people lifted weights that looked heavier than her car, while others ran on treadmills like their lives depended on it. A protein shake bar buzzed with activity in the corner. "Can I help you?" The receptionist looked like she bench-pressed cars for fun. "I'm here to see Sarah Chen." The woman's whole attitude changed. "Oh, you must be Shanice. Sarah's been waiting for you." She grabbed a clipboard. "Sign in here, please. Through those double doors, up the stairs, first door on your right." Shanice signed her name with shaking fingers. What kind of gym had upstairs offices? And why did everyone act like Sarah Chen? Was somebody important? The stairs were harder than they should have been, probably because she hadn't eaten since yesterday's lunch break. Her stomach growled, reminding her that she couldn't afford to be picky about jobs anymore. She knocked on the door. "Come in." The office wasn't what she expected. Instead of gym equipment or sports posters, the walls held framed television scripts and awards. A sleek conference table dominated the room, and behind it stood a sharp-dressed Asian woman who had to be Sarah Chen, Shanice Williams. "Thank you for coming." Sarah gestured to a chair. "Please, sit. Water?" "No, thank you." Shanice perched on the edge of the chair, clutching her purse. "I'm sorry, but I still don't understand why I'm here." Sarah smiled, tapping something on her tablet. A familiar scene appeared on the wall screen. Security footage from Joe's Diner, showing Shanice serving Big Show last night. "Tell me about this moment," Sarah said. "Why did you keep the kitchen open?" Shanice's throat tightened. "Is this about my firing? Because I can explain." "This isn't about your firing. This is about why you chose to help someone in need, even knowing it might cost you your job." "He was hungry." Shanice shrugged. "Sometimes it's that simple. My mama always said, hungry people deserve kindness, no matter who they are or what time it is." Sarah's smile widened. "That's exactly what Paul, Big Show, said about you. That you treated him like a person, not a celebrity." The door opened, and Shanice's heart nearly stopped. Big Show himself ducked through the doorway, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her yearly rent. "Hello again, Shanice." His voice was warm. "Sorry about all the mystery. We had to be sure." "Sure about what?" Shanice felt like she was dreaming. Sarah pulled out a thick folder. "We've been watching Joe's Diner for 3 months, testing different employees, sending in people who needed help after hours. You're the only one who consistently chose kindness over rules. You were testing us." The room seemed to spin a little. "Not just your diner." Big Show sat carefully in a reinforced chair. "Diners all over the country. We've been looking for something specific. Genuine kindness. Not for cameras, not for tips, not for recognition. The real thing." "But why?" Sarah opened the folder. "Because we're launching something new. Something that could change lives. But we needed the right person to help us do it." "I don't understand." Shanice's voice shook. "I'm just a waitress." "Was a waitress," she corrected herself. "You're a lot more than that." Big Show leaned forward. "You're someone who gives kindness without expecting anything back, who sees people, not positions, who risks her job to help others. That's exactly who we need." Sarah slid the folder across the table. "This is a job offer, Shanice. A real one. With benefits, including full medical coverage." Shanice's hands trembled as she opened the folder. The numbers on the paper made her dizzy. This had to be a mistake. This kind of money could pay for Lily's medicine for years, could get them out of their tiny apartment, could change everything. What's the catch? She looked up. There's always a catch. The catch is, it won't be easy. Big Show's face was serious. We need you to learn a lot in a very short time, to work harder than you've ever worked. to help us prove something important about kindness in the modern world. But what would I be doing? Sarah and Big Show exchanged looks. We can't tell you everything yet, Sarah said. Not until you sign the non-disclosure agreement. But I can tell you this. It involves helping people. Lots of people. And using that natural kindness of yours to make real changes. Shanice stared at the contract in front of her. Part of her wanted to sign immediately. This could solve all her problems. But another part remembered every too-good-to-be-true offer she'd ever heard about. Can I have some time to think about it? Of course. Sarah handed her a business card. You have until tomorrow morning. Call me when you decide. As Shanice stood to leave, Big Show spoke again. Shanice, how's your daughter? Lily. She's good. She loved the autograph. He smiled. The medical benefits would start immediately. Just so you know, outside the gym, Shanice sat on a bench, her head spinning. The folder felt heavy in her hands, heavy with possibility, heavy with fear, heavy with hope. She pulled out her phone to call Jackie, then stopped. The business card in her pocket seemed to burn. Sarah Chen, executive producer. The logo above the name finally registered. It was for a major television network. What had she just walked into? Shanice looked up at the gym's gleaming windows, remembering the awards on Sarah's wall. Whatever this was, it was bigger than a random job offer, bigger than a chance meeting with a famous wrestler, maybe even bigger than she could imagine. Her phone buzzed, a text from Lily's school. Inhaler empty. Please bring replacement. Shanice clutched the folder tighter. Sometimes the biggest risks came with the biggest rewards, and right now, she was fresh out of safe options. She pulled out her phone again, this time dialing Sarah's number. Whatever this mysterious opportunity was, her daughter needed that medical coverage. And maybe, just maybe, the world needed a little more of what her mama called simple kindness. Sarah? It's Shanice Williams. About that job offer. I need to know everything before I sign anything. Shanice's voice was stronger than she felt. My daughter depends on me. I can't take any chances. Come back up, Sarah replied. We'll explain everything. When Shanice returned to the office, the atmosphere had changed. The intimidating conference table was now covered with photos of different diners across the country. Big Show had loosened his tie and was drinking coffee from a WWE championship mug. First things first, Sarah pulled out a stack of papers. The non-disclosure agreement. Once you sign this, we can tell you the whole story. Shanice read every word carefully, even though some of the legal language made her head hurt. After she signed, Sarah handed her a tablet showing a familiar image. Joe's Diner's front door. 3 months ago, Sarah began, we started Project Kindness. The idea was simple but powerful. Find the most genuinely kind person in the service industry. Someone who helps others without expecting anything in return. Then give them the power to make real change. Big Show took over. We bought 50 diners across the country, installed cameras, sent in people who needed help after hours. Veterans, truck drivers, single parents, all with different stories. We wanted to see who would bend the rules to help others. Most people turned them away, Sarah continued. Some helped, but complained. Others helped but bragged about it on social media. You were different. You helped quietly, consistently, without fanfare, just like you helped Paul last night. But why? Shanice looked between them. Why go through all this trouble? Big Show leaned forward. Because we bought Joe's Diner. Not just your location, the entire chain. All 38 restaurants across 6 states. Shanice's mouth fell open. You what? We're turning it into something new, Sarah explained. A place where kindness matters more than rules. Where employees are treated with respect and paid fairly. Where helping others isn't just allowed, it's encouraged. And we want you to run it, Big Show finished. Shanice waited for someone to laugh, to say it was a joke. Nobody did. Me? Run a restaurant chain? I'm just a waitress. I don't know anything about managing restaurants. You know more than you think. Sarah pulled up more security footage. We've watched you train new servers, calm angry customers, handle rush hours smoothly. You understand both sides of the counter. That's rare. But what about Mr. Peterson? He's the manager. He was the manager, Big Show corrected. We're cleaning house. Too many of the current managers care more about rules than people. We need someone who understands that kindness and good business aren't opposites. Sarah opened another folder. The position is Regional Operations Director. You'll oversee all 38 locations with a team of managers reporting to you. Full benefits, including premium medical coverage for you and Lily. Starting salary of $85,000 per year, with performance bonuses. Shanice felt dizzy. That was more money than she'd ever dreamed of making. But I don't have a college degree. I never even took a business class. We'll provide training, Sarah assured her. The best business coaches, leadership seminars, management courses, whatever you need. We believe in investing in good people. Think about it, Big Show added. How many other waitresses are out there struggling like you were, working double shifts just to make ends meet? You could change that. Set fair wages, create better schedules, make sure everyone has health insurance. Shanice looked at the photos spread across the table. So many diners, so many workers just like her. People with families, with bills, with dreams. People who deserved a chance. What's the timeline? She asked. Sarah smiled. We announce the takeover next week. You'll start training immediately. Within 3 months, we want all locations operating under the new philosophy. And if I fail? You won't, Big Show said firmly. We'll make sure of it. But if you're really not comfortable after the training period, we'll find you another position in the company. No one's going to leave you hanging. Shanice picked up a photo of Joe's diner. Her diner. She thought about Kenny in the kitchen, always willing to help. About Mr. Johnson and his Tuesday night burgers. About all the times she'd wished things could be different. Can I make changes? Real changes? That's exactly what we want you to do, Sarah nodded. Better working conditions, community outreach programs, emergency meal funds for people who can't pay, whatever you think will help. What about Mr. Peterson? Big Show grinned. Funny you should ask. He'll be reporting to you if he wants to keep his job. Sometimes the best lessons come from working for someone you used to underestimate. Shanice looked at the contract in front of her. The salary numbers still seemed impossible. But even more impossible was the chance to make things better. Not just for her and Lily, but for everyone who worked at Joe's. Her mama's voice echoed in her head. When God opens a door, baby, don't stand there asking why. Walk through it with your head high. She picked up the pen. One condition, she said. Kenny gets promoted to head chef for the flagship location. He's been passed over too many times because he never went to culinary school. But he's the best cook we've got. Sarah and Big Show exchanged impressed looks. Already thinking like a boss, Big Show smiled. Done. Shanice signed her name, her hand shaking slightly. As she finished the last letter, She felt something shift in the air, like the universe had just turned a corner. "Welcome aboard, Director Williams." Sarah extended her hand. "Ready to change some lives?" Shanice thought about Lily, about her empty inhaler, about all the other parents out there working double shifts to pay for medicine. She thought about hungry people being turned away at closing time, about tired workers with aching feet, about dreams put on hold because of empty pockets. "Ready," she said firmly, shaking Sarah's hand. "But I have one question. What made you choose diners? Out of all the businesses you could have bought?" Big Show and Sarah exchanged another look, and Shanice got the feeling there was still something they weren't telling her. Something bigger. "Let's just say," Big Show smiled mysteriously, "this is only the beginning." 3 weeks into her new job, Shanice sat in her office, her actual office with a desk and everything, staring at spreadsheets on her laptop screen. The numbers were starting to make sense now, thanks to the crash course in business management she'd been taking. Ms. Williams, her assistant, she had an assistant, poked her head in. "Mr. Peterson is here for his quarterly review." Shanice straightened her new blazer. "Send him in, Angela." The look on Mr. Peterson's face when he walked in was worth every late night she'd spent studying. His eyes went straight to the nameplate on her desk. "Shanice Williams, Regional Operations. Director, have a seat." She gestured to the chair across from her, the same kind of chair she'd sat in when he fired her. "We need to discuss your performance metrics." He sat stiffly, his face pale. "I've maintained excellent standards at my location." "Your standards?" Shanice pulled up his restaurant's data. "Let's talk about those. Your turnover rate is 85%, higher than our other locations. Food waste is up 40%, and customer satisfaction scores are the lowest in the chain." "I run a tight ship," he defended. "Rules exist for a reason." Shanice leaned forward. "You're right. Rules do exist for a reason. But our reasons have changed. Tell me about the homeless veteran you turned away last week." Mr. Peterson shifted uncomfortably. "It was after hours. It was 11:45. We close at midnight now. And even if it had been after midnight, we have a new policy for handling hungry people who can't pay. Did you read the manual I sent out? Those policies will bankrupt us. Giving away free food, staying open late. All these new benefits for workers." Shanice turned her laptop around, showing him another spreadsheet. "Our profits are up 32% since implementing these changes. Turns out, Mr. Peterson, kindness is good business. Happy workers work better. Customers who feel cared for come back more often. Community goodwill drives growth." She slid a folder across the desk. "This is your improvement plan. You have 30 days to adjust to our new philosophy. Angela will set up weekly check-ins to monitor your progress. And if I refuse, then you'll be welcome to seek employment elsewhere." Shanice kept her voice gentle but firm. "The old Joe's Diner is gone. Either grow with us or step aside for someone who will." After he left, Shanice leaned back in her chair, releasing a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. A knock on her door made her jump. "Pretty impressive." Big Show ducked through the doorway, grinning. "You handled that better than I would have. I thought you were in California touring other locations." "Just got back. Sarah wants us in the conference room. There's something you need to see." The main conference room was filled with screens showing different diners across the chain. Sarah stood at the head of the table, practically buzzing with excitement. "Shanice! Perfect timing. Watch this." She pressed a button, and the screens came alive with scenes from different locations. A waitress in Denver staying late to serve a stranded truck driver. A cook in Atlanta making extra food for a hungry family who couldn't afford their bill. A manager in Seattle opening early for a group of tired nurses getting off the night shift. "This is all from the past week," Sarah explained. "Your new policies in action. Your kindness spreading across the whole chain." Shanice felt tears prick her eyes. They're really doing it. They're really helping people. And that's not all. Big Show pointed to another screen. "Show her the numbers, Sarah. Employee satisfaction up 89%. Customer loyalty up 65%. And this," she pulled up a social media feed, "people are noticing. The hashtag #YourJoe'sKindness is trending. We're getting coverage from major news outlets. But why do we have cameras everywhere?" Shanice had been wondering this for weeks. "I know it's good to track performance, but this seems like more." Big Show and Sarah exchanged that look again. The one that meant they were keeping something big from her. "You'll find out soon," Sarah promised. "For now, just know that everything is going exactly as planned. Maybe even better." Back in her office later that day, Shanice called Lily's school to check on her. Her daughter was thriving now that they had proper medical coverage. Their new apartment was closer to school, and Lily hadn't missed a single day since they moved. As she worked on next month's schedules, making sure every shift had enough coverage that no one had to work doubles unless they wanted to, her eye caught something strange on one of the security feeds. A small red light she hadn't noticed before, blinking steadily in the corner of every dining room. Those weren't regular security cameras. Before she could look closer, her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Big announcement tomorrow. All hands. Meeting, 9 a.m. Get ready for Phase 2. Shanice stared at her reflection in the dark computer screen. The woman looking back at her wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was someone who could make real change happen. Someone who could help others climb the same ladder she had. But as she gathered her things to head home, she couldn't shake the feeling that there was something much bigger going on. Those cameras, the constant recording, the mysterious phase. 2. Whatever was coming tomorrow would change everything again. She just hoped she was ready for it. What she didn't know, couldn't know, was that millions of people were about to learn her story. And that was exactly what Big Show and Sarah had planned all along. Shanice arrived early for the 9 a.m. meeting, but the conference room was already packed. Regional managers from all 38 diners were there, along with what looked like an entire TV production crew. Camera equipment and lights filled one corner of the room. "Morning, Director Williams." Kenny waved from his seat. He looked sharp in his new head chef uniform, the flagship diner's logo embroidered on the breast pocket. Before Shanice could respond, Sarah walked in with Big Show and a group of network executives in expensive suits. The room fell silent. "Good morning, everyone," Sarah beamed. "Today is a very special day. Today, we reveal what Project Kindness has really been about." She nodded to a technician who dimmed the lights. On the main screen, a video began to play. Shanice's heart stopped when she saw herself on the screen, serving Big Show that late night at Joe's Diner. But that wasn't all. The video showed dozens of other moments. Her helping elderly customers cut their food, staying late to let tired truckers eat, giving free meals to hungry kids while pretending their parents' cards hadn't been declined. Years of small kindnesses, all captured on camera. For 3 years, Big Show's voice narrated over the footage. We searched America for someone who proved that kindness isn't weakness. That helping others isn't just the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do. The video switched to scenes from the past month. Other diners implementing Shanice's policies. Other workers performing their own acts of kindness. Customers paying forward meals for strangers. What you've all been part of, Sarah announced. As the lights came up, is the pilot episode of Random Acts of Kindness, a new reality show that will change how America thinks about business and compassion. Shanice felt the room spin. A reality show? The most expensive pilot ever produced, one of the network executives added proudly. 3 years of surveillance, 50 initial locations, all leading to this moment. We needed to prove it could work, Sarah explained. That a business run on kindness could be profitable. That giving people chances pays off. That one person's compassion could spread across an entire organization. And you did it, Shanice, Big Show smiled. You proved every point we wanted to make, and then some. But Shanice looked around the room, her mind racing. The job? The changes we're making? Was any of it real? All of it, Sarah assured her. The network didn't just fund a show, they bought the whole chain. Every change you've made, every policy you've implemented, it's all permanent. You're still Regional Operations Director, if you want to be. If I want to be, Shanice repeated. You have a choice, Big Show explained. You can keep running the diners, implementing your vision of kindness in business, or, he gestured to the cameras, you can co-host the show with me. Travel the country, finding other businesses that need to learn the lesson of kindness over rules. Help us change things on an even bigger scale. The room was silent, everyone waiting for her response. Shanice thought about everything that had happened in the past month, the changes she'd made, the lives she'd touched, the workers who finally had health insurance and fair wages. She thought about Lily, thriving in her new school, about Kenny, finally getting the recognition he deserved, about Mr. Peterson, slowly, learning that rules without kindness were just another form of cruelty. What about the diners? She asked. All the progress we've made? Your choice, Sarah said. You can keep running them, or we can promote someone else who shares your vision. Someone like Kenny, maybe. Kenny's eyes widened at that suggestion. Shanice stood up, smoothing her blazer. 3 years ago, she would have felt overwhelmed by this moment. But she wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was someone who had proven that kindness and success could go hand in hand. I'm keeping my job, she said firmly. Big Show's eyebrows shot up. You sure? The show would reach millions. You could influence businesses across the country. Maybe, Shanice smiled. But real change happens one person at a time, one meal at a time, one kind act at a time. I can do more good here, making sure these diners stay true to what we've built. Making sure every worker has the same chance I got. She turned to Sarah. But I have 2 conditions. Name them. First, Kenny gets promoted to Regional Operations Director for the Western Division. He's been learning the business side for weeks, and he gets it. He understands what we're trying to do here. Kenny's jaw dropped. Sarah nodded, smiling. Second, Shanice continued, Mr. Peterson keeps his job. The room burst into surprised whispers. Are you sure? Big Show asked. After how he treated you? He's learning, Shanice said. Sometimes people just need a chance to be better. Isn't that what this whole project was about? Sarah and Big Show exchanged looks, then broke into huge grins. And that, Sarah told the camera crew, is exactly why we chose her. Later that night, Shanice sat in her office, watching the sunset through her window. The pilot episode would air next month, but she wasn't worried about being on TV. She was thinking about tomorrow's staff meeting, about the new training program she wanted to implement, about the community outreach initiative she was planning. The knock on her door interrupted her thoughts. It was Mr. Peterson. Ms. Williams, I wanted to thank you for today. Everyone deserves a second chance, she said simply. even people who don't always give them to others. He nodded, looking humbled. I'm learning that. Thanks to you. After he left, Shanice picked up a framed napkin from her desk, the one Big Show had autographed for Lily that first night. Below his signature, she'd written her mother's words. Kindness matters more than rules sometimes. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. Final cut of the pilot is amazing. America's going to fall in love with your story. Shanice smiled, gathering her things to head home. Let America think this was just a heartwarming TV show. She knew the truth, that real change happens in small moments, in midnight meals and second chances, in choosing kindness even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. As she locked her office, she saw a new waitress letting in a late customer, even though it was close to closing time. The waitress caught her eye, looking nervous. Shanice gave her a thumbs up. Kindness matters, she called out. The waitress beamed, hurrying to get the customer's order. And so it continued, one small act at a time, proving that sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest choices. That's not reality TV. That's just reality. And there you have it, friends. A reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of kindness can lead to the biggest changes in our lives. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Drop your location in the comments below, and let me know if you've ever had a moment where kindness changed your life. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if Shanice's story touched your heart, and subscribe for more stories that remind us of the power of human kindness. Until next time, remember, sometimes breaking the rules for the right reasons can lead to the most beautiful surprises. See you in the next story.